What is up, everybody? Welcome back to State of the Steelers. We got a lot of interesting news referencing what's going to be happening this Friday night in the second preseason game for the Pittsburgh Steelers against the New York Jets. Who's going to be the starting quarterback for that game? How does that impact the rest of the depth chart? What are we thinking about Mason Rudolph now that Will Howard's going to be the starting quarterback Friday night? Plus, we got an update from Coach McCarthy on Caleb Johnson and how much more he'll play and so much more. There's injury questions across the board as well. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that notification bell. Without further ado, let's get into it. Let's start off first with what Coach McCarthy had to say about the quarterback room.
Yeah, quarterbacks, we're going to play the two young guys for the Jets game to be our focus. Will Howard go first.
What's the thought process behind just getting Will and those meaningful reps?
Oh, I think you understand. They're young. Will didn't get to play last year. Drew's a first-year player. Have two veterans I feel really good about, obviously with Aaron and Mason. Saw what I needed to see from Mason last week. I've talked highly about Mason really since the spring, so I really want to max out the opportunities with both Will and Drew.
So a couple of things to unpack there. First and foremost, Will Howard and Drew Aller are going to be the two quarterbacks that are going to be playing in this upcoming game. I'm really intrigued by this because Will Howard is now going to be having an opportunity to go up against the Jets, probably first team defense. The second game is typically the dress rehearsal, if not a ramp up to the dress rehearsal in the third game. Either way, there's usually more starter involvement in the second game than there is in the first game in the preseason. And so I'm expecting to see Will Howard go up against some real good competition and see what he can do. Coach McCarthy's already mentioned here that Mason Rudolph was not going to be playing in this game. Probably not the next one either. And I doubt that Aaron Rodgers will participate in the following two games. Sounds like Coach McCarthy is comfortable with the two players at the top, the two veterans. Word on the street is right now that quarterback one and quarterback two is already set in stone. That's going to be Aaron Rodgers and Mason Rudolph. And what we're going to be looking at now is whether or not the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to roll the dice and take on the risk of having four quarterbacks and losing a player in another position somewhere else on the roster. Now let's hear from the quarterbacks themselves about this opportunity that they have right in front of them. We'll start off with Will Howard.
Definitely. There's a lot of things to clean up on, and just getting out there for the first time. I think it was that first drive that kind of after that first drive I was good, but I was definitely a little jittery on that first drive. I felt like I left the pocket a little early on that one that I kind of threw away, and then that third down. I ended up kind of sliding or running for the first down when I should have just thrown it away. But yeah, there's little things here and there that I've been working on, and just going into the game with full faith in the game plan is I think the biggest thing, that preparation piece. So work my butt off the next couple days and be as prepared as possible. So anything that's thrown at me, I'm ready for. Any opportunity I get to go out there is special, but obviously when you're going into the game as the guy that's starting it. There's a different level of anticipation and excitement that comes with that. But yeah, man, it's a blessing, and I know we got a lot of good quarterbacks on this roster, so to be able to get the start in this game is an honor.
Sorry you've been asked this already, but can you take us to that moment when Mike told you, hey, you're going to be getting the start off?
Yeah, I think it was kind of Tom told me, and yeah, it was like during a walkthrough or something, and I was like, oh shoot, cool.
And that's Will Howard, the starting quarterback for this preseason game. Let's hear what Drew Aller had to say.
I'm ready for it.
I feel like it's definitely, slowing down. Even the play calls are slowing down in my headset. I felt like, when I first got here, it was like just very, very fast. I didn't really know what was being said in the headset, and then it's kind of like piecing it along. But now I feel pretty confident, especially when we get into game planning. It makes it a lot easier since the game plan is very, not small, but it's very structured, and the certain formations and motions, what plays you can get to. So that just makes it a lot easier mentally when you're out there on the field, just not thinking about how to say the play, or just thinking about the play and then going out and executing it.
A lot of good things to hear from these young quarterbacks. I'm excited to see what they have this upcoming week. Again, it sounds like Will Howard's going to play the entire first half. Drew Aller's going to play the second half. The following week against Buffalo, I believe it's who it is. I'd like to see it flipped. I'd like to see Drew Aller play the entire first half and Will Howard play the second half. So that way the Pittsburgh Steelers can get a really good idea of what it is that they got in these two young guys. Give me a like button if you guys agree with what it is that the Steelers are doing right now. I do. I want to see what these guys can do. And, I think that in the end, you're going to want to have a veteran presence even next year. We can fast forward to next year real quick. Next year, let's just say Drew Aller and Will Howard both play very well this week. And next week, both weeks, they look amazing. They look like they could potentially be a guy that you want to be battling next year for that QB1 position. You're still going to need a veteran quarterback on the roster. On the Steelers Hangover, my co-host Tate brought up Cooper Rush as a guy that is going to be a free agent next year, since he's already familiar with Mike McCarthy. Man, I'll be honest with you. I'd rather have Mason Rudolph next year if that be the case, if that's your options, for the veteran quarterback, the Charlie Batch to the Ben Roethlisberger, the guy that's going to help prepare the future quarterback, whether that be Will Howard, whether that be Drew Aller, or a first-round pick that they get in next year's draft, somebody who is accustomed to getting into some game situations with little preparation. Because let's face it, if a quarterback, does finally get in there, they're not going to have a lot of experience to lean on. And what they're going to have to do is really build on the preparation aspect. And so what better person to have than a Mason Rudolph, who is familiar with this team, is going to have some chemistry built with the wide receivers, and next year, a year under his belt in the Mike McCarthy system, who Mike McCarthy did speak glowingly about him. Now, I've seen in the comments section somebody say, we know what Mason is. He's a backup quarterback. Well, you still do need a backup quarterback on your roster. I do think that the backup quarterback is a different player depending on the situation that you're in. For instance, and we'll look at Ben Roethlisberger's career. Early on, he had veteran backup quarterbacks. As he became the veteran and as he became more experienced, the need for an experienced quarterback behind him had dropped off. Thus, the Steelers transitioned to a backup quarterback that was a younger, more developmental guy, going all the way back to Landry Jones. It just kind of depends on what position you are as an organization when it comes to the quarterback and the backup quarterback room. And next year, regardless of anything, especially if they get a quarterback in the first round, you're not going to go with three guys who potentially had not played a real football down in a regular season of an NFL football game. Just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think about these young guys. I'm excited about the next two games. And like I said, what Will Howard is doing right now is he's competing against himself. It's Will Howard versus Will Howard, and whether or not he can force the Pittsburgh Steelers into saying, hey, we need to look and keep Will Howard on this roster because he has the potential of being a guy come next season. Coach McCarthy also spoke about Caleb Johnson.
If the guy called the plays just to run the ball more, I think that'd help him out. So we'll just continue to work that way. But yeah, he'll play. He'll play. He'll play Friday night. Hopefully play a bunch of them. We do. We really want to focus on the younger part of our team. Give these guys a chance to make our squad.
So he'll play. Well, that's an improvement of what Caleb Johnson did last week. Now, I'm a little bit concerned, guys. I think that Caleb Johnson is 1 foot out the door at this point. When you start getting guys like Homer starting running back last week and Caleb Johnson getting like 2 carries or so, I started to question whether or not the Steelers had some sort of deal on the table with another team and were preventing him from going out there and getting injured. I have no idea why you wouldn't want to see what you have in the second-year, third-round pick. But here we are, and I think that he's in a real danger of not being on this football team. A guy like Eli Heinreich, I think this is going to be good for him. He's going to get an opportunity for him to get out there and really showcase what he has. It sounds like Mike McCarthy just really wants to see the young guys, and he's going to give these guys an opportunity. And when you talk about guys like Eli Heinreich, you talk about guys like Will Howard, etc., these are the opportunities that you wish you could have. Go back a few years ago, Chris Oladokun was drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers as a quarterback and was serving QB4 at the time. And how many reps did he get? Not very many as a Pittsburgh Steelers. Now let's get to some injuries.
You guys be bringing back the full complement of receivers? You guys expect TK?
We got a couple guys that are still coming back, on the medical part. We got 48 hours. I'll get all that stuff. Bert will get that to you here in the next 48 hours. So I'm sure you have it. We're trying to get some work out of Bert.
The Standard here is reporting that DK Metcalf and Michael Pittman Jr. are both expected to be ready for week 1. That's huge. They've just been, I think Michael Pittman's been dealing with, I believe it was reported, a possible hamstring or lower leg injury. And not really sure what DK is dealing with, but he hasn't been participating in camp either. And then earlier today, Dalen Everett, Jennings Dunker were also not participating today. They're dealing with something. I'm not sure if they're going to be playing this week. It's a big week for both of them. I thought both of those guys played fairly well against the Green Bay Packers last week. And so I was really excited and looking forward to seeing what it is that they had coming up this game against the New York Jets, because there's going to be an opportunity for them to take that next step. The offensive line for the right side wasn't very impressive. Dylan Cook didn't play fairly well. Spencer Anderson didn't look like he was, or he should be, the guy that has a lock for that position. I think that position should be very much up in the air. And the way Jennings Dunker played, I think he deserves a look at the very least. And so Unfortunate news for him if he's going to be out this game, because when you have a rookie player, the developmental portion of the preseason is important to go out there and showcase what you can do. And you miss out on this developmental time of developing the game plan and the foundation for your offensive scheme for the entire season. This is huge. It's not like missing a game in the middle of the season where you have an identity, you have plays and things that you've been practicing, you have under your belt, you got muscle memory built up. This is too early for those things to happen. And unfortunately, I don't know how much opportunity Dunker's going to get in real life or real game situations moving forward. The preseason is and was his biggest stage to showcase what he has, and hopefully he can get back out there, because I thought he played fairly well. And the last thing I want to talk about today is Joey Porter Jr. still not signed. I don't know what's going on. Steelers need to pay this man. The cornerback position has been one that the Steelers have been lackluster in when it comes to developing. Joey Porter Jr. is the first cornerback in a long while that the Pittsburgh Steelers have developed into a very good quality cornerback. Now, I'm not going to say he's the best, but I will say that I think he's top 5 or so. He's wanting to get paid very, very high. Now, when you look at some of these other players, and maybe not even just in the cornerback position, but in different positions across the league, and we'll look at quarterback, for instance, there was a time where Kirk Cousins was getting paid a lot more than some of these other quarterbacks that had better accolades than him. Dak Prescott is another quarterback who seemingly got way more than what I guess his value would have been, but that's what the market is in today's day and age. If you want to pay less, you should have locked him up earlier. Kind of like what the Pittsburgh Steelers did with Nick Herbig and Keanu Benton. I think those are two team-friendly deals possible team-friendly deals, depending on how they perform. I think it's very plausible that both of those guys can outperform those deals and make those deals a steal. But that's because they were taken care of ahead of time. Joey Porter was not. Sometimes you snooze, you lose. And in this situation, the Steelers need to pay this man and give him his money. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that notification bell. It was a pleasure talking to you guys. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think of all of everything. Until next time, peace out.